Live.
Yes. Yes. It's the Tim McKernan Show podcast. Jackson Burkett, Tim McKernan. Brought to you by James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency. Brought to you by Seth Goldcamp of Design Air Heating and Cooling. Brought to you by Mark Hanna of Evergreen Wealth Strategies. Jackson, we have got 38 minutes to give these people the best podcast experience of their lives.
It's all about the attempt, Can't necessarily achieve that every time, but the attempt is what matters, and we're sure going to attempt it right here, man.
I like that. You are locked in to do it. I'm locked in to do it. I want to get your state of mind as we do this podcast on the Fighting Tigers, because I feel like I've watched you on Monday be in the wilderness.
Yeah.
And then your spirits maybe lifted a little bit. I've got the number for the Texas A&M game. Do you want to venture a guess?
Yeah, I'd love to venture a guess.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jackson Burkett, my co-host on the Tim McKernan Show podcast and on Balloon Party. May it rest in peace.
A&M -4.5.
No.
A&M -6.5.
That's where it is now. It opened at 7, and per usual, the Sharps have already bet it down.
Yeah,
to 6.5.
I bet on the week before game day, like this time next week, I bet 5.5, 4.5. It'll be in that territory. I don't see it going up past the touchdown.
It's what's on my mind. Now, I'm happy to talk about anything.
Yeah, of course.
But I kind of so Missouri, I think, is plus 25,000 to win the national championship now.
I mean,
I realize
value.
you have to understand. I'm not saying I think they're going to win, so 50-50. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I just think when I see a psychological flaw in groupthink exacerbated by social media, that's where I see opportunity for profit.
That's your edge.
That's my edge.
Yeah.
In college football, in our arena, politics in another one, but in our arena, college football provides the opportunity to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
Especially now, in which so many college football fans have podcasts, and so they're just talking as fans, which, hey, I am too, by the way. Mm-hmm. But I also I think that I'm not happy to, but if I'm not necessarily seeing things from the Missouri fan perspective, I will say it. Such as I thought Missouri was closer to losing by 3 touchdowns against Alabama than winning that game, even though I, of course, recognize the score was Alabama 27, Missouri 24. And that pissed off some Missouri fans. The opposite would be the case from the Vanderbilt game. Missouri was closer to winning that game by 2 touchdowns than losing it by 7 points. But they lost by 7 points. So... But most fans, understandably so, and good for them, by the way, don't spend their whole Saturdays watching college football. I do. There may be edges in other sports, but I don't watch other sports that don't involve my teams like I do with college football.
Right.
And that is why over the course of a season, I tend to do all right with games I care about. Sometimes, like on TMA, we're picking, and it's not TMA's fault, we're just picking games. And like last week, none of us did well, but I don't think I had one that I really felt super strongly about. 2 weeks ago, I loved Vanderbilt against LSU, and it struck me as like kind of scary obvious that it made me. This week we have a game that falls into that category, and we haven't talked about it yet. Let's see if we're on the same page here. This is Jackson playing guessing games on QFTA. Jackson Burkett playing guessing games on QFTA.
A game where you feel like you have...
I feel real...
Confident
in outcome.
I assume it's in the Vandy, Texas game.
I do not have a feel for that game at all, but it's the game I'm looking forward to watching the most.
Agreed.
Which is saying something because it might be 10-7.
Oh, man, the slate's just so ass.
I love Tennessee, who I'm not high on, -3 against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because I think Oklahoma is dealing with a quarterback injury situation.
Yeah, Mateer has not looked right at all.
And while I'm not high on Tennessee, they're still going to score points, and I just am not sure Oklahoma's going to be able to. It's a 6:30 night game for a team theoretically in Tennessee that's still in the mix. Oklahoma's still theoretically in the mix.
Yeah.
You got the motivation factor. I just really like Tennessee in that game. I'm not really high on Tennessee overall. But my big picture perspective on the whole thing is people get caught up on what they just saw or the actual who won and who lost. And maybe college football suits me because it's more than any other sport, in my opinion. Because in the NFL, I don't know what a recent example would be. I mean, I know the Packers lost to the Browns, but they didn't get blown out by the Browns. The Eagles lost a random one to the Broncos. Broncos aren't horrible.
Right. There is no, like...
but you see what I'm saying? Like, margin of victory in the NFL can't be as, in my opinion, determining factor of a team's strength as it is in college football.
Right.
So, in other words... Last year, I had a suspicion that we might have a problem with Missouri after the Vanderbilt game. Yeah. But that was because nobody thought of Vanderbilt as what people think of Vanderbilt now. Yeah. Then when they got blown off the field against Texas A&M, just like, okay, they're just not good, and whatever. That's where it is. I realized Cook got hurt against Alabama, but they just weren't a very good team, and they weren't doing anything. This year, I think they are one of the 10 best teams in the country. But I don't think many people around the country are viewing them as such. And that's fine. I'm not like angry about it. No, here's another example of Missouri being disrespected. I'm just looking at it through the lens of there's an edge there. Meanwhile, what would be the optimal scenario if you see an edge is for their opponent to currently be overvalued.
Right.
And there's no better time for Missouri to be playing Texas A&M than coming off of a game that led to a prominent firing in which A&M went into perhaps the toughest place to win at, of course, the toughest time to play them, although it seems like they only play at night, in winning at LSU and doing so in the manner that they did. But they were down 18-14 at the half. To their credit, they rattled off 21 points in the third quarter and never looked back, but I think that might have been a broken LSU team. And the week before, they won 45-42 against Arkansas, which, of course, is a butt-ass. And if Missouri were playing A&M after the Auburn game, which of the Alabama, Auburn, and Vanderbilt games, I think they played their worst game.
Agreed.
And Missouri wins that. And if Missouri's playing A&M after the Arkansas game, I promise you the spread would not have opened at 7.
Agreed.
But yet they're the same football teams, generally speaking. And then one would go, I don't know, Missouri lost their quarterback. And then you get into the other potential edge, which is there is a chance. I'm not saying, well, look, Zollers is better. Zollers got to go against a defense that didn't prepare for him, and it was for basically a quarter and a half. We're talking small sample size and not apples to apples. But that could be an edge. I wish I wasn't emotionally interested in Missouri because otherwise I'd be hammering it and taking Missouri because it's nothing against Texas A&M. They may be able to win the national championship. I think that's more of a commentary on there not being an absolute powerhouse this year, whereas I don't think Vanderbilt, who could be in the playoff, could win the national championship. I just think Missouri's going to get a team that's going to be ranked at least number 3 in the country, and it's an opportunity for Missouri to put themselves right back in the conversation if Matt Zollers is able to move the football through the air and the team still is locked in like they have been against Alabama, Auburn, and Vanderbilt. Because I haven't seen 10 teams in the country better than Missouri this year. That defense is sick. Matter of fact, it's going to sound absurd, and I recognize it's going to sound absurd. I think 3 of the best defenses I've seen are 2 teams that most would say have 0 chance of going to the playoffs, and one that everybody would say is clearly the best team in the country.
So Ohio State,
yes,
Florida.
No, I wouldn't put Florida in there, actually.
LSU?
No, I think the LSU. Well, but the Vanderbilt moved the ball easily up them.
So Ohio State, Missouri, and I need a third. This team might not even make the playoffs.
Well, this team is not making the playoffs. Auburn.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, their front seven might be.
It's it's absurd. Yeah. And listen, I recognize they're not like the third best defense, but as far as Auburn, they're fucking garbage. They are. They've made a quarterback change, and they've got a defense that's just ridiculous. Their losses, though, were these super close losses against A&M, against Oklahoma, against Missouri, against Georgia. The other team in that same category where there's value is Mississippi State. If you're just glancing, number one, Mississippi State is like the least recognizable brand in the SEC. Number two, they've got a terrible record, winless in the SEC.
For 2 years now.
But they... I don't know if I would say the one they should have certainly won is Texas.
Yeah, 100%.
But I was watching it in Las Vegas too, which really is sad. Tennessee game.
Oh, I had action on that.
Oh, did you?
That was a great sweat.
And then against Florida when they were driving and then they threw the ball for some fucking reason. Now Billy Napier still loses his job, just like Jimbo Fisher lost his job after beating Mississippi State, if I'm not mistaken. So with that all established, Mississippi State's getting 4.5 against Arkansas this weekend.
Yep.
Hello, friends.
Yeah, that's an opportunity. That's a big opportunity. But Arkansas can score, man.
I
think that's what gives people trepidation.
Mississippi State can actually play some semblance of defense and score. Mississippi State, in my opinion, was a middle of the pack SEC team.
Yeah.
If Mississippi State's playing South Carolina, Kentucky, and I feel like there's another one who's obvious, but I'm not thinking of at the moment, so it must not be obvious. But there's another team in the SEC that I would take them on a neutral field against. But
Arkansas.
That goes against what the logic is, and so that's where you can have your edges. So, with that said, I recognize that this probably is not popular or agreed to.
Sure.
I guess popular isn't necessarily the right word, but people think I'm fucking crazy, and that's fine. I'm just saying this is what I see.
Yeah. Well, Mississippi State plays Auburn on neutral field. Where do you go with that? That
Mississippi State.
Really?
Yeah. Although in fairness, I saw parts of Auburn, Arkansas. I didn't get to see the non-Jackson Arnold.
Right. Yeah. That's what's curious.
Because I watched him against Missouri last year at Oklahoma and against Missouri at Auburn 2 weeks ago, and I'm just like, what is going on here? I realized he was a 5-star recruit, but he just doesn't have it. I don't know if he's injured. I don't know what's going on.
It's weird in college football, man. If you get that 5-star recruit label on you as like a top end, they will try you forever. Like they will give you so many chances. I think Arnold's a prime example. I think Spencer Rattler is a prime example, even though he's an NFL quarterback now, which I wouldn't have bet on. But if you get that like high recruit kind of label on you, you just get like as many bites as the apple as you can.
I think you're right about that. I think that's a good observation.
And I think it's just because it's like, well, in a world of transfers like crazy, I guess we'll just take the guy who at least the experts were high on a couple of years ago over someone who was like a middle of the road quarterback at a smaller school. Which I don't know.
You're always welcome to send your questions in. T. McKernan at InsideSTL.com. Jackson and I have a hard out.
Mm-hmm.
We got a meeting.
We sure do.
It's the Hubbard benefits meeting, but. There were some conspiracy theories in the text inbox this morning. We set a meeting. They thought you were going to announce that you were going to 670 The Score. You're doing that. You're going to do that on Friday,
right? Live on Instagram. Yeah.
And are you going to tweet out some personal news?
Yeah, some personal news in the thread about like how much I love my experience here, but I got the hell out the first opportunity. It's always my favorite, too.
Email T. McKernan at InsideSTL.com. Friends have done so, Jackson. Let's maximize. And then friends have gathered on a very short notice, QFTA, in the YouTube chat. But we really didn't promote this one. So I will take a gander at the YouTube chat. Let me see what I got here. Let's see. Did I do this? I don't think I did this one. Because we didn't do a QFTA last week, right?
We did not.
Hey, Tim, I noticed toward the end of today's QFTA, you had mentioned if one of the jobs in St. Louis didn't work out, you would have gone to work for SNY. Hold on a second. I think this might have been a bad read on my part. I noticed towards the end of today's QFTA, this was sent on the 15th, you had mentioned if one of the jobs in St. Louis didn't work out, you would have gone to work for SNY. Okay, I've read that twice. I don't follow it completely, I guess because I don't know what he's making reference to as far as in St. Louis goes. But I'll continue to read. In my opinion, one of the reasons you have such a loyal following is because you seem to, and likely do, have a vested interest in how the Cardinals, Blues, and Mizzou perform. St. Louis seems to be a conservative market with hesitancy for outsiders or outlandish sports takes. New York seems to be a melting pot of outlandish sports takes. This is obviously the sliding door, butterfly effect, or whichever phrase you want to use. But how do you think your time would be or would have fared at SNY? Do you think you would have had to feign interest or become a takesmith? Or do you think your interest in the sport and the way you cover it would have been enough to be successful in that market? The market seemed to be totally different, so I was curious on what, if anything, you could have seen yourself changing if you had made that move. Thanks. That's from MD 2020. Now I follow the question. The first part about one of the jobs in St. Louis not working out is irrelevant to what he's asking. And I think there is a core point of confusion for MD 2020 on what the situation was. The job offer that I had in New York was to anchor. It wasn't to host a talk show. So when I went up there to audition for it, I was ad-libbing, and when you do television, you have what they call shot sheets because you're ad-libbing. I mean, I'd like to think most people are ad-libbing over the highlights. When you're on camera, you're reading off a teleprompter, or you don't have to, but that's what most do, read off teleprompter, and then you have a monitor in the desk that you're looking down on, and then you have a shot sheet of the plays you're calling in the highlight package, which is what I would have been doing on a program called Geico Sports Night on SNY, which would have followed Mets games. Kevin Burkhardt, who is now working with Tom Brady, was the Mets host, I guess, sideline reporter at that time. And then there's another person who was there at that time who has gone on to do something not to Burkhardt's level, but I wouldn't have been like going to New York and working at WFAN leading into Francesa and screaming about the Yankees or the Knicks.
Which would be a miss on FAN's part.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to say that so I didn't have to kind of make my case to go to WFAN and learn more than two players on the Knicks.
I think if you went...
And start screaming about it.
Like if you were at
talking
WFAN,
Rangers and Devils and Islanders.
If you start doing mornings in WFAN tomorrow...
My God.
I think by the weekend, they would have you strung up. I think you'd be fucked.
You know what? That might be the title of the episode. Yeah, if that would have been the job, it wouldn't even... I mean, I don't even know how I would have been a finalist for the job, much less... Because in order to do sports talk radio, your MD 2020's overall point is correct. I couldn't do sports talk radio anywhere else. I won't be doing sports talk radio anywhere else.
Don't worry.
This is like Lane Kiffin going, Jimmy Sexton hates when I say this, the agent, but sometimes money just doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm not in. But I couldn't because I don't like even going across the state to Kansas City. I don't know about the Royals or Chiefs, and I don't care about the Royals or Chiefs. I don't know about Kansas State or KU, and I don't care about. I don't necessarily dislike. I just don't care.
Right.
So to do it in St. Louis, it's easy. And I don't know how many. You probably have now doing this for 5 years have gotten this question. How much do you prepare for the show? And that is from people who don't listen to the show, by the way. Because if you listen to the show, you know.
Right.
But. And I go, I'm a fan of the teams, and I'm just naturally interested in it.
Right.
And so the preparation is more osmosis because it's what I'm watching and paying attention to and reading about anyway.
Yeah.
So that is, it's like, who was on today? Oh, Rutherford. And he goes, God, I'm always amazed at how you've read all this stuff and listened to all this stuff before your show starts. And I'm like, that's what I love doing. I mean, you know it because I'm texting you TikTok clips and shit at 5 a.m.
Right.
But that's what I personally love to do. But I couldn't do that in any other market and have the emotional investment.
Right.
And also the knowledge. You have to have a base of knowledge that you just have as an encyclopedia in your mind that isn't unique to me, even though I understand I have a weird memory. But if you could rattle off 2006 Cardinal stuff. You were 8 years old. I mean,
but that you didn't work to get that.
You just have it. But probably every motherfucker listening to this thing could do the same thing for the teams that they care about. Now, I could go anchor anywhere in the country.
Right, 'cause that's just real.
Yeah, so that wasn't the issue, but that was what the job was. The job was an anchor job. It wasn't a Takesmith job.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that, but I wouldn't do that. I remember. It wasn't the reason I didn't take the job. There were two reasons I did not take the job. Honestly, it was a lot of money. It was more dollars than I'd ever made by far. I mean, God, probably 50% dollars. But you have to consider cost of living. But then also, well, I guess three reasons. Then secondly, I had a bad, and she didn't do anything wrong, but one of the people I would have been working for, I don't know what the title that she had was. In television, we would call it news director, television news, but I doubt that's what it was called at a sports network like SNY. But I'm just like, I think that might be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we were deciding between Hubbard and staying at KFNS, whatever, almost 4 years ago now, if I would have been like, ooh, John Kioski,
right.
Oh, Tommy Mattern,
right,
that would have given me pause,
right.
You know? That's an important thing. Anybody who has got any job decisions, I'm sure there are people that you work for, or with, or the owner, or the corporation, that, and I'm just like, I could see that being a problem. So there was that. That was a big thing. I mean, I'm going back almost 2 decades on it. And then the third thing was in my audition, I remember you would have liked this. The audition was in May or June. It had to be May. No, it was May. Definitely May. And I guess the Nets were in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. What was this, from 07?
Yes, it was 07.
Like Richard Jefferson, Jason Kidd.
Yes, I can.
Vince Carter.
But there were a couple of names in the shot sheet where I'm like, I need pronouncers.
Yeah, there's some tough ones in the NBA.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Now, if you're coming in and you're auditioning, I know St. Louis doesn't have an SNY, but you're auditioning for a position like that in St. Louis, and I realize it's not going to happen with it being the market size it is and only having 2 teams, and you just get Buchnevich or Toropchenko or something like that, Hofer, we say it without, but some people, is that Hofer?
Yeah.
And then you're auditioning, that's a kid. It's like when I say, hey, we have a job opening, and somebody sends in an email for it, and there's either some misspellings or bad punctuation, I'm like, they're out.
Yeah.
If you don't take the time when you're trying to make your first impression, then you're automatically gone. And then I look at your social media and see if you're a fucking prick.
Yeah.
So the pronunciation thing, I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, I don't even know who these people are. And I'm talking about an NBA franchise here.
Right.
So that's just pronouncing people's names. Imagine if I'm like sitting there arguing with like a lifelong guy from Queens about the Mets,
Right.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Or the Jets. I remember the Jets. They said, the Jets will be going to camp here soon. And it was somewhere in a upstate, relatively speaking. It wasn't close. That's all I knew. And I kept thinking of fucking Macomb. And I'm like, God, I don't want to have to go to Jets camp. Fuck me. And I'm going, I'm not interested in this stuff.
The Mangino.
It would have been the Mangenius era, I think. You're right.
100%, because that's when he was on Sopranos.
Would have gotten some butt fumble time.
Oh, yeah. I always, to your point earlier about like the amount of knowledge just organically baked into your mind about the sports teams that, like we said, most people listening to this probably have. That's why I'm always so impressed with ball writers, because obviously, especially in print, you're moving around all the time. Like, guy I knew at Mizzou, Peter Baugh. We had him on for the
Peter Baugh
when the Blues played the Avalanche, because he's the athletic Avalanche. But like,
did he write for the Colonel at a time?
Yep.
Okay.
6 months prior to that, he was doing the same exact job, but for the Brooklyn Nets. So in the matter of 6 months, he has to essentially forget all he had about the Nets and learn basically the entire history of the Avs so that he can write in context.
I agree with you.
I agree with
impressive. I mean, it is impressive. What I also would say is this: it's a weird deal. I mean, it's like I'm trying to change. At your alma mater, actually, me, Matt Adams, and somebody from the Blues,
that's right.
the sports business thing.
Yeah.
And usually, anytime I'm asked about it, like this career choice, and I think I probably said it to you. I know you've. I don't say you quoted me like you're working with Aristotle or something.
E.B. White.
But I said there's no dollar value that you can put on going to bed on Sunday night and not dreading the next 5 days.
That lack of anxiety.
Yes. And I do think there's something to that. But as time has gone on, in particular with our industry and then maybe more passion industries, I do wonder about that, because if you do something where you can make a lot of money, and then furthermore, you have the ability to, if you really perform well, then the world is your oyster in the sense that you could go to one of hundreds of other companies. You could relocate to another market.
Yeah.
All of these different options. You're not as boxed in. And then when you have plenty of money, then you can do what you love, and it's not your job.
Right.
So I'm at this point where I'm starting to wonder about that counsel that I truly have. I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it, but now I have to say, I wonder about, and maybe it's because I'm looking. I mean, this is the end of this industry.
Right.
I think I'm really saying it. I think it's breaking news. That might sound weird. I never said it on this podcast. This podcast to be the only place I would say it, because I think if it were said on, whether it be on TMA, even if it were on HD2, but certainly on 101, or even when we were at KFNS, it would come off. I get to see it coming off wrong, and I think if you go out of your way to find me on this, you at least know my personality enough to know that I'm not interested in shitting on people in the industry. I just don't. Number one, honestly, I'm just not consuming it.
Right.
But number two, that's just not what we've done. Even if there have been people that we didn't like, it's not. So anyway, the point being, this is the end of this being people's, from a local standpoint, full-time careers where they at least can make even six figures.
Right.
Unless disclaimer, unless they are able to create their own show/network. And I would say this for like the next 5 years, because what goes approximately 5 years out, maybe there will be something.
Yeah.
But as far as, and this is said from a complementary standpoint of their careers, as far as obvious ones like Bernie Miklasz, Randy Carricker, Frank Cusimano, Doug, Martin, the Cat. People who have done really well in this industry, and I'm saying that from a place of sincerity. You're not going to have people who are now 21, 22, 23 at Missouri, at Northwestern, at Syracuse, Arizona State, these places with these communication schools that are nationally renowned, journalism schools, going, I'm going to get into that, and then I'm going to be able to do it for 30 or 40 years,
right.
and I'm going to make enough that can be my career. It will be, I have a job, but I'm interested in the blues, so I will do a blues podcast. And that's great, but that isn't going to make you,
right.
six figures.
Right.
So that's over. And I remember kind of observing it a few years ago, going, God, this is kind of like Charlie Marlowe might be like the end of the line. And Charlie's in his 40s. And I'm only a couple of years older than him. Because I'm like, I'm still the young punk I remember thinking a few years ago, just because nobody had come behind me.
Right.
And it's like, oh, it's not happening. It's over. Things change. I'm not lamenting it. If anything, I'm kind of like, good. People won't experience some of this stuff. It's not a tenable thing. And if it is tenable, then that means you've developed some business skills to run your own business, an entrepreneurial element. But I'm talking about, listen, you can make money doing this. I want to make that clear. And this is kind of a, and I'm saying this from a respectful standpoint, because making six figures in 2025 isn't making six figures in 2000. It just isn't happening unless you are paying yourself.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's over. Vince Carter GIF.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. I hear exactly what you're saying. It's like, but then there is going to be, I think, like that, like you said, like people are going to start their own networks, and it's going to be much more straight to consumers. And then if those are successful, then they can hire people, and then those people can make some money. So like there is going to be like a cyclical element to it.
It will continue, but the barrier to entry is non-existent now.
Exactly.
And
it's whatever microphones cost.
And again, 25 years ago when I got the job at KMOV, I was 23, and it was like, oh my God, this guy's only 23. But there was no way in the world I was going from the University of Missouri to KMOV as an anchor reporter. It was understood you have to go down, so to speak, to a small market
Minor
to get
leagues.
And then get called up. Those days are over. That job is kind of over. Right. I mean, I think it's almost. I feel terribly for Rennie Knott. Saw him out in the break room last week when he came in on the Riz show. It's almost like it's like nothing's more like St. Louis than people getting worked up over when like an older on-air talent is no longer on, because it just speaks to nostalgia. When you're in a provincial market, like the local TV anchor's still mad. I mean, that just isn't like, hey, listen, I'm going to get whacked. Plenty of you will like jerk off like for days on end when it happens. It's going to be great. I can't wait. And I think I'm unlikable enough that I don't think I'll get the Rennie Knott treatment. You agree with that?
Yeah.
But that's fine. But it's kind of part of the process. Like the body decays. I'm not mad that the body decays, because I recognize that the body decays for all of us.
It's the lack of fear of mortality.
It's the Hyman Roth, this is the business that we've chosen, and I recognize it. So that's just kind of the way that it works. But I got in like in the fourth quarter with like 3 minutes left of the industry, so to speak. And, I'm lucky that I got however many years I'll wind up doing it. There's no way in the world you're doing this 10 years from now.
I would doubt it.
But I would bet you're making a shitload of money 10 years from now.
Boy, I hope so.
It's like, but I remember Bert Kaufman of who was the gentleman who owned 920. He's since passed away. But I remember sitting there looking at me. He goes, "Oh, you're going to be wealthy," and I go, "Well, not." And he goes, "Oh, you're going to be. You don't know that." And I go,
"Yeah, well, was he a sage?"
Yeah, I'm like, what makes you think? Like, brother, I just dealt with Dan Marshall for the last few months, and Bubba the Love Sponge. Yeah, and I'm not real liquid. But I guess when you like do, when you're in an industry, you recognize who's going to do well, and because you see the traits that transcend whatever industry it is, so you can kind of go pick the right one, and you're going to go make a bunch of money because you work hard, you have a good attitude, and you're an intelligent guy. You're good. It's just kind of the way it is, and you don't like have some like thing where you're like snorting junk, drinking booze all the time, or can't help yourself without hitting on any woman who walks by.
Nope, wasn't cursed with any of that.
Yeah, so you're good. Yeah, it's great news.
I just love ball.
Yeah, just go ahead and lease your 3 Series now. You're good.
Oh, dude, I couldn't. Man, I could never. I could not. I will say though, in vehicle world, been a sedan guy my whole life. If the next one I want to get, give me a crossover, something where I can sit up a little bit.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Like you're talking about me with like on the phone books?
Very similar. But like, I swear, every time it snows, I'm just sitting there like, damn it, why am I driving a sedan? It snows in St. Louis, Should have some that gets up in the air. And I like, I don't know. But I do like my car I have now.
But you can afford
at least a 3 Series.
If you'd like, or something else, because I'm telling you, not a doubt in my mind, you are going to be making a lot of money. And I'm not saying that like, I'm just telling you that like this is kind of the way that it is. You will have to develop a cocaine habit, booze, gambling, be a womanizer, and get sexual harassment suits. Otherwise, you can't help it. You're going to make a nice living.
Okay, I don't see myself doing any of those things.
Yeah,
certainly not the booze, man. I can't.
Yeah, you don't have a whole lot of tolerance. It's alarming.
With beers, I'm fine.
It's the boat drinks that really send
hard liquor. Hard liquor turns me into a different animal. Yeah, I just have it so infrequently. Beer I can drink, like light beer I can drink with anybody, but not with anybody. I shouldn't say that, because I've seen some folks here in the Clinton County, but hard liquor, especially brown liquor. Yeah.
Oh, the brown liquor.
Whiskey. If I start drinking whiskey, oh my god.
Let's see. We only have 4 minutes, so I got to maximize. Blues QFTA. This is in the YouTube chat. Is the Game 7 loss to the Jets causing this disastrous start? They're hot garbage. I have to tell you, that's a great question. It like gets me going. Tip of the cap. I'm a big JCPenney chat support fan. I don't think JCPenney chat support's a fan of mine. Doesn't change my love for JCPenney. I can be in a relationship where I receive the strap-on. That can be the title of the podcast also.
It's going to be really damning when it's just spent on Missouri and the Blues.
I thought, and I know, and I'm not saying this to get the whole thing with you in hockey, because I don't really do that on this podcast. I'll do that when we're down the hall.
Sure.
I was distraught.
Yeah.
I was down. I was really down after the Vanderbilt game too. I want to make that clear. But that Blues, and I won. I think, I don't remember what I won.
Right.
You might remember.
But it was emotional risk management. Player,
it was, yes. So it was 4 figures. So that was nice.
Yeah, handsome.
But I still was so down. And I remember one of the reactions was really strange around here. And I may have to refresh your memory, whereas I know with Missouri football, it's right there because you care more about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reaction was, I'm upset, but I'm not that upset because I know that they're going to be good. And I thought, I guess it's not really my job to tell people that that is irresponsible. But if it's kind of like, it's not my job to sit here and say, well, I think, I don't believe in the afterlife or whatever.
Right,
Like, hey,
right.
if that's how you get through it,
Right.
and maybe you're right. Fuck if I know. I don't know. I certainly don't know either. Exactly right. But I'm thinking to myself, Blues might be great. But what happens if Bennington gets run, like what happened in the Avalanche series in 22 with Kadri? Okay, what happened, and I'm talking about in the 2025-2026 season, what happens if Holloway isn't right from whatever the injury was that we didn't know? We knew he was hurt, but we didn't know what the injury was, and he isn't back. What if, take your pick of whomever you consider to be irreplaceable, Robert Thomas, he's hurt as we speak, and he's hurt. These opportunities, I'm just a real, when you have it,
you got to go.
And I'm just like, hey, if this is how Pete, because we haven't had one of these in St. Louis since the Dinkinger game, and I was not doing this, obviously. I was 8, 9, I guess, when that happened, so I can't. But I'm like, oh, this is people's coping mechanism. This is interesting. We're going to be good, so we're going to be fine. I do not, specifically to the J.C. Penney chat supports question, think that is the reason for this start to the season. But I thought when that happened, wow, that's a tough one to go, yeah, but no matter what, you're one of 8, you're 1.6 seconds away, really 120 seconds away from being one of 8 teams remaining with just as good a shot as anybody, which I know sounds crazy because Florida now looks like they're unstoppable, and certainly you had Dallas next, and Edmonton was waiting. But the great equalizer in hockey, especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs, is a goaltender, and the Blues have it and had it. And if anything, it's why the Jets didn't, despite their great regular season. And I thought, man, you got to seize this. This guy isn't 25, Right. So it's a great question. I just thought that was an odd reaction. All right, we got to go. Thank you for listening, as always. Thank you to James Carlton, Design Air Heating and Cooling, and Mark Hanna of Evergreen Wealth Strategies. For Jackson Burkett, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been the Tim McKernan Show podcast.